And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, July 21st. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Darla Leslie, a member of the Yakama Nation, has been elected president of the Native American Journalists Association by the Board of Directors at the 27th Annual Native American Journalists Association Conference in Fort Lauderdale, Florida this month. Leslie is a reporter and photographer for the Yakama Nation Review. She was elected for a 3-year term on the NAJA Board of Directors. Also elected were Tristan Aton, a Kiowa of Wyoming Public Radio, and Naomi Friday, Arapahoe Muskogee Creek, and a student at Broward College in South Florida. The three filled the board seats of the Showban News editor Lori Edmo Suppa, Shoshone Bannock, National Native News anchor and producer Antonia Gonzalez, Navajo, and the late NAJA co-founder Minnie Two Shoes, who was a Assiniboine Sioux and passed away a little over a year ago. Leslie was appointed last year to complete the remaining year of Two Shoes' term on the NAJA board. 6 board members will also remain in their positions until their terms are completed, including Rhonda Lavaldo, Yakama Pueblo, Nancy Kelsey, Odawa, Brent Merrill from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Jolene Shunshin, Comanche, Shirley Sneevy, Rosebud Sioux, and Andy Harvey, a Navajo. At 2 events with tribal leaders in Montana this month, Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar and other top Interior officials took what he called the latest steps to implement President Obama's pledge for reconciliation and empowerment for American Indian nations. In Billings, Montana, Salazar and Deputy Secretary David J. Hayes hosted nation-to-nation consultation with tribal leaders from the Rocky Mountains and Great Plains regions to discuss land consolidation and other components of the $3.4 billion Cobell settlement. Senator John Tester also participated in those discussions. Later in the day, Secretary Salazar and Bureau of Reclamation Commissioner Mike Connor visited the Crow Reservation to participate with a crowd of 200 celebrating the recently approved Crow Tribe water rights settlement. The water settlement will bring more than $460 million to the Crow Nation to ensure safe drinking water for the reservation and rehabilitate their irrigation projects. Fort Lewis College is calling all alumni home. The FLC Centennial Alumni Reunion will be held on August 5th and 6th of this year. Food, fun, and live entertainment are all part of that reunion schedule, they say. Returning alumni have the option to stay in the dorms on campus or take advantage of discounted lodging in the region. This year is the college's 100th anniversary as a public education institution. The number of Native American students has also grown throughout the decades. In the fall of 2010, 786 Native Americans enrolled at Fort Lewis College. That represents approximately 21% of the on-campus student body. 383 Navajo students attended FLC in the fall of 2010, making the Navajo tribe the largest of over 120 tribes represented at that campus. The Fort Lewis College Centennial Alumni Reunion is sponsored by the Fort Lewis College Alumni Relations Office and the Fort Lewis College Foundation. And for more information, you can go to fortlewis.edu/alumni. We'll put that up for you to see at that website, or contact Ross Nelson at 970-247-7427. Beautiful place to be at Fort Lewis as well. 2 men accused of participating in a walrus ivory and polar bear hide trading ring have pled guilty to breaking federal marine mammal laws, and a 3rd person is expected to plead guilty. Federal agents found hundreds of pounds of walrus tusk and 2 polar bear hides when they searched the home of Jesse James LaBouffe and his companion Loretta Sternbach in April of this year. LaBouffe and Sternbach were accused of trading cigarettes, guns, snowmobiles, and other items to natives in the village of Savunga in exchange for federally protected animal parts. Co-conspirator Richard Waschenfelder marketed the tusks and hides on the internet and helped sell the goods and parts to out-of-state buyers, the federal indictment reads. LeBoeuf and Sternbach also illegally sold and transported walrus parts and tusks to out-of-state buyers, the indictment reads, and by law, only natives living in Alaska can hunt the mammals, but they can't sell the raw ivory to private collectors. Weinfelder and LeBoeuf pled guilty last Friday. Vallejo city officials have agreed not to develop a park where Native American remains are buried without approval from tribes, a move that could end a 3-month tribal protest at the site, and it may be over as we read this story. The deal approved by the Vallejo Parks Board and City Council this week requires 2 tribes, the Yoshadehe-Winton Nation and the Cortina Band of Pitwan Indians, to sign off on any development plans for Glen Cove Park. Tribes have occupied the park since April to prevent the city from moving forward with a $1.3 million plan to add a parking lot, bathrooms, benches, and trails. The tribes say the land is a burial ground and should be left alone. Protester Norman D. Campo tells the San Francisco Chronicle the tribes will pack up and leave once they feel that the deal is set. Cleanup after the BP oil spill has turned up dozens of sites where archaeologists are finding human and animal bones, pottery, and weapons left behind by prehistoric Indian settlements. A trove of new clues about the Gulf Coast mounds dwellers more than 1,300 years ago. But they also fear that the remains could have been damaged by oil or lost to erosion before they can be fully studied. So far, teams of archaeologists hired by the oil giant have visited more than 100 sites and sent back a growing list of finds to labs for radiocarbon dating and other tests, though extensive excavation have not been done. Scholars have also accompanied cleanup crews to make sure that they don't unwittingly throw away relics. The disaster that began when the Deepwater Horizon exploded in April of 2010 has highlighted the urgent need to protect the sites, but a government scientist says neither their discovery nor the money to study them will have come as quickly without this bill. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us and come back again soon.